Just over a week ago, Atlus released a demo for their upcoming game, Metaphor ReFantazio. I was expecting it to be a short and simple trial, where it showcases its battle system, then tease the fantasy world and story, and there goes my 20 hours. Metaphor is already redefining the formula of JRPGs with its demo alone. And no, this is not a hyperbole, it's the absolute truth. Back when Atlus announced this game that is being developed by Studio Zero, led by the trio who created the successful Persona S-Link trilogy, people got excited as this is the first time they will make a fantasy game. Fans were dying to try a non-high school setting Persona game. While I did expect it to have some similar elements from a Persona game and even some aspects from other Megaten franchise, but upon trying the demo, I was amazed at how Studio Zero was able to perfectly synthesize the different elements of what makes a JRPG fun and not tedious. On top of that, Metaphor turned into a genre-defining game. Let's just say after playing the demo then going back to SMT5 Vengeance, it never felt the same. So similar to how Persona 5 changed the standard for turn-based games, Metaphor is a pinnacle subject that game devs should study upon, as Metaphor is already redefining JRPGs. The craziest part, it did that with its demo alone. But before that, if the trial got you excited for Metaphor, then like this video and join Ataka Define for more Metaphor content.
I'll give it my all.
Right from the get-go, what people adored from Metaphor is the game's battle system. It is still a turn-based game, much like other Persona or Megaten entries, but Metaphor added a new mechanic. The fact that you can engage your enemies on the field to stun or beat them. It's akin to a brawler type game, but instead of just swinging your sword around like an uninspired action RPG, you have different movesets depending on the archetypes, the pseudo-personas in-game. If you're a mage, then you use your wand to cast a blast of magic. The brawler archetype lets you punch monsters like Kiryu Kazuma. Combining the aspects of a turn-based and action RPGs is nothing new. But Metaphor applied it in a way that gave the players liberty on how to tackle each enemy encounter, since if the enemies are weak enough, then one swing will beat them, which is a huge quality of life update for a JRPG. So say goodbye to those grindy days of pressing A just to get a minimal amount of XP. This mechanic, which I call the insta-beat mechanic since insta-kill is a different feature. Anyway, the insta-beat mechanic was first implemented by Studio Zero in Persona 5. It is the bonus we get upon reaching Confidant rank 7 with Ryuji. This lets us ambush shadows and instantly beat them if our party level far outmatch the enemies. And it's a sweet mechanic to have when grinding in Mementos. But it felt so disengaging that I sometimes wish I get to have an option to somehow still battle them in a turn-based strategy. Thankfully, that is what Metaphor addressed, as the action side of the game lets the players stun the enemies. Then we get this cool animated cutscene that smoothly transitions to the turn-based gameplay. This is the type of freedom that JRPGs have been missing for decades, and it is to be expected that future games will try to adapt this system. Now, let's talk about how they improve upon the turn-based mechanic. Metaphor doesn't use Persona's one more turn, but rather they adopted SMT's press turn system, where the process of switching between the players and the enemy's turn is determined by the number of icons consumed from actions, which work wonderfully here. Because of how they designed the action, players can take on their turn. It lets the players strategize on how to utilize each move. But then, why was there an order to pass? If each action is based on this limited number of icons, what is the incentive to pass? Well, again, it's strategy. By passing your turn, you can instead go for a synthesize, which is a more powerful move, and you can take advantage on the weaknesses of the enemies and thus reducing the consumption of the turn icons by half, allowing the players to have more turns. Now that's the basic implementation of the press turn system. What Metaphor added here that made this trusted press turn system robust is how you can switch each party member's formation during the battle. So combatants can stay in either the front or back row. This actually determines whether the party member and enemies can reach each other or not. So paying attention, like if the enemy's attack will sweep the front row, then it is best to switch the party members to the back row. There are also skills and attacks from each archetype that takes advantage of which formations they are located at, like how some skills can only be cast in the back row. The battle system alone makes Metaphor a standout among the rest of other JRPGs. But that is just one aspect, as there are other things why Metaphor is already outperforming other games from the demo alone, like the simple fact that the protagonist has voice lines. It was shocking to hear that the protagonist can speak. I was just like,
Are you alright?
did I just talk? Which, if you're a big fan on SMT and Persona games, you know that silent protags don't get to talk. It's even more impressive hearing this in the English dub, as I get to listen to the voice of a trailblazing trash panda. It's a welcome surprise, as it adds immersion to the story that these are characters dealing with problems in this fantasy world. The protagonist wasn't meant to be the player's self-insert. Instead, we act as their guide. And hearing how they react with their voice alone solidifies their feelings with regards to the discrimination they receive from other tribes. Simply put, it turned the volume louder on the theme and story that Metaphor is telling. On top of that, it's refreshing to have a mascot character who I don't find annoying or was just there to over-explain stuff. I mean, we can safely call Gallica as a mascot for Metaphor, right? Unlike Teddy or Morgana, where people can easily be put off by their one personality trope, being a per-bleacher, which I don't think is natural for bears. Anyway, Gallica isn't Navi, and that's a blessing to have. She's well humanized despite being a fairy, always being concerned about the protagonist and the discrimination he receives. She's not there to just remind us or guide players on what to do, but to instill in our hearts that we can persevere through the hardships and save the prince. She's even the one that lets us listen to the spectacular soundtrack composed by the fantasy ancestors of Soji Meguro and Lotus Juice. Also, her voice acting is really good.
That's not your burden to bear alone, okay?
It's not grating or squeaky, and it's the type of soothing voice you'd want to hear after a tiring adventure. I mean, let's just talk about how each character here is greatly cast. From Strohl's amazing awakening performance,
I am the last of my house. I am the last of my noble bloodline.
speaking his heart out against the injustice. Whether you're playing on the English or Japanese dub, the casting direction here is perfect, which is something that other JRPGs should be more keen on, as acting does make or break the immersion they provide, especially on fantasy-based games. And Metaphor nailed the casting to a T. Another aspect that I love about Metaphor is their world building. Sure, we get dialogues from the main story about the different tribes, etc., but Metaphor took advantage of an existing system from Persona. Metaphor has the royal virtue. It is the social stat equivalent from Persona games, and they use the royal virtues to tell us players how distorted this fantasy world is, where you can spend a time of the day to increase its stats. In Persona games, you can study or eat a meal to increase your knowledge. I don't know how it does it, but it does. But Metaphor improved upon this by utilizing it to tell the story of their bleak world. Like when increasing my wisdom to finally be able to talk to this pretty lady. At first, I thought it would be just some simple animation cutscene of the protagonist reading a book or something. But I didn't expect that city watching gave dialogue on how each tribe interact, or an entire lore about the tribe of Mustari and how they had to wear baskets or masks to hide their third eye, and even introducing a religion only practiced by them. This made increasing the stats of royal virtues a task that I look forward to doing, since instead of absent-mindedly increasing my wisdom, I get to learn more about this fantasy world. Now, obviously, this video is all about fanboying about this game made by the creators of the series that I love, but these are what I saw from Metaphor that let me sink hours and hours to. From the trial alone, Metaphor has redefined JRPGs for me, and again, it's just a demo. So color me excited as I wait for October 11 and play the full version. But how about you guys? Did you love the demo for Metaphor? Let me know in the comments below. The only way Metaphor would be even better is if it had a romanceable character, so it's too bad that they don't have that. If you're curious why, then check this video out. Join Otaka Define for more Metaphor content. This is Mav, and stay awesome my dudes.